You know, when Darwin wrote his great tracts on evolutionary theory, he stressed two elements of the selection process. Natural selection, fair enough, and certainly there's sexual selection. Now, it's a scandal in scientific history, as far as I'm concerned, that for almost 100 years after Darwin published his great works on sexual selection, biologists tended to pretty much ignore it. It's like, yeah, no, natural selection. And that was because I think it was easier to maintain a strict determinism by concentrating on natural selection. The tricky thing about sexual selection is, how is that not conscious choice? I mean, what, you don't make a conscious choice when you select? Well, maybe you don't if you've had enough alcohol. I wouldn't, recommend that as a long-term mating strategy, but you tell me that the conscious choice of women specifically is more complex in the case of men, because we don't have as much at stake, and so we're not as choosy. Women are exceptionally choosy, and certainly it's like a truism among evolutionary biologists that part of the reason that we had such rapid cortical expansion is because of sexual selection. It's like, how is that not the action of consciousness on matter? And you might say, well, that's only been operating since Homo sapiens because nothing was conscious before then. It's like, you ever see that BBC clip of the pufferfish making the Mandela? Oh, well, you could look that up. This little pufferfish, he's like this long. He's just a pufferfish, It doesn't have any hands, which is kind of hard problem if you want to be a sculptor. He makes this sculpture that's like 20 feet across. He's this big, 20 feet across at the bottom of the ocean. And it's a perfect circle and quite complexly undulated and wavy. It's not the sort of Mandela you would see in a great cathedral, but he's just a fish, man. It's not so bad, And he spends like a week building this thing. And it's so funny watching him in the film because he goes down there and maybe there's a stray piece of shell and he grabs that and he spits it out because no shells in the damn sculpture. It has to be clean. And then he pops up and he turns one eye like a bird and he looks at it and then he goes down and waves a little sand into place. He's making these dunes that are like a foot high and there's like 400 of them. And then you see an aerial shot of it. It's the size of this stage. And then this female pufferfish comes along and, checks it out and sees if he's got what it takes. And if he does, away they go. It's like, it isn't obvious to me at all that pufferfish isn't conscious. And I would say, well, you're anthropomorphizing. It's like, okay, let's have that discussion. So I'm pretty familiar with the animal experimental literature. And the greatest animal experimentalists, especially those that study motivation and emotion, so they're the ones that are delving very deep into the neurophysiological apparatus. Their basically rule of thumb is you anthropomorphize except when there's a reason not to. It's like rats, they're pretty complicated. They play, they laugh, you can tickle them. They die without love. Pufferfish, they make sculptures.